All right, we are live. Took me a little bit to get on. I don't know who's tuning in, but I'm just gonna roll with this and let's let's some questions and get into it. So this is the first time I'm actually doing a YouTube live. Um, I will just, if anyone tunes in and has a question, fire it up, put it in the chat, and we can go from there. I'm going to record this anyway and upload it, so I'll speak a bit, and I've already got some questions that have been asked. So um, the first one, John Rich. Hey, bro, what cryptocurrency is the best investment to bring the highest profit percentage? John, you are the best cryptocurrency. Um, I can't answer that for you. You'd have to go to some other channel. Okay, I'm gonna get up some questions that have already been asked through the channel, and we will go from there. So Louise said, I have a couple of deep questions that have bothered me for a long time. I need to explain a bit of context here. There's a non-dual teaching that emphasizes there is no separate self, including as awareness. I especially like to listen to Jim Newman. He states there is no you. He also goes on to say there is no awareness. Awareness can't even be seen, he states. It doesn't exist. All that there is what's currently appearing, happening to absolutely nothing, no one. So it's forever constant. And for example, just a bird appearing. Appearing to what? Appearing to absolutely nothing. Um, then the sound of a car horn, exactly the same, appearing to absolutely nothing, just itself. The sound of a car horn happening for itself and appearing by itself. And whilst the car horn noise is happening, that's the entirety of existence, appearing as a car horn now. There is nothing but the horn noise while appearing. Nothing else exists but the noise itself, absolutely nothing. But then, as quickly as it appeared, it disappeared. And then, for example, the warmth of the sunlight sensation takes place of the horn noise and it's felt on the skin. There's nothing but that. No someone or something being aware of it, no, just the sensation of the warmth of the sun. He states that the absolute or unconditional love is that taking shape of the form of whatever is appearing now. Okay, there's a lot here, so I'm just gonna get to the bottom of it. Um, what do you think about this perspective? Do you think it is completely different from what you perceive reality to be? I apologize for writing. Um, so firstly, I'll say that, yeah, that is right in one way. That is one perspective that Jim Newman has shared of, yeah, there is just what is happening on the screen of presence, on the eternal screen of now. But that is just one perspective. There's many perspectives on this understanding of the one reality. There's no one perspective that is correct. Um, this is just one of many perspectives, so we can't really say that one is right and another isn't. It depends how direct and how clear that is for you. So you asked, do I have a different perspective on reality in the sense that whatever is appearing, say it's the car horn or um, what else did you say? The sunlight is just that, is the entirety of the universe, just appearing as that. And yes, it is. Everything, everything here, everything that is perceivable is consciousness, is the same as us. Everything, even a rock, headphones, a pillow, has a sense of consciousness, is uh, part of the field that makes up all of this. So really, it's like there's a there's a field that is infinite and is made up of light, right? And it exists outside of space time. But as soon as for something to be perceived as separate, and there's distance in space time, it needs it needs something localized. It needs to localize itself into a body, into a body mind. And so then that field of light collapses into what seems like that object. So it's only when it's perceived that there's someone that's looking at it that it's actually there, right? It's like the Zen koan, or the saying, if a tree falls in the forest, but there's no one there to hear it, then did it ever really happen? And you could, in some sense, in linearity and form, you could say that it happened, but in another sense, it didn't, because it's only when it's only wherever you go, it's like everything is being crafted as a perceivable space-time 3D world from there. But really what it is just one pure field of light, one consciousness, one infinite consciousness appearing as different forms. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. Um, Mike says, "Hi Noe, do you believe in free will, or is everything just happening spontaneously?" This is one that I've spoken about in previous videos. How so we could say, when we say there's free will, we could say that you create everything, right? There's the idea that you're the creator, you're you are creating everything, whether you know it consciously or unconsciously, at every moment. Because when you know your consciousness and you are conscious, you can perceive, there's an essence to that. There's a creative essence that can see that every thought, feeling, and idea is leading to something else, right? And so we eventually wake up to that, oh, everything that seems to happen, every place I end up in, and everything that happens is a result of what I'm thinking and feeling and doing and saying. So then I'm responsible for all of this. I'm responsible for everything that's appearing. So that, in some sense, you would say that is free will, because that's taking full responsibility for us as the creator. But then there's people who say, "Oh, well, if there's one consciousness, one being, then that is just going to create what it wants as that one being. So it's not the individual who actually is actually has a say in what they can do or what they can create." So it's a bit of a paradox where it is the one being, but the one being has given you free will to be the creator, as the creator. So it's like, it feels like, as the avatar, like, I have the power to create here. So there's a sense of free will, but it is happening from that space of one consciousness as well. All right. Next question. This is fun. I like this, and we're firing away. There's a lot coming in. So hit me with your best shot. All right, I want to see some good questions. Whoever, if anyone's watching and there's like something burning, then fire it up. Question: if we are infinite consciousness, do you think eventually we experience each other's lives in different timelines after this current avatar dies? Well, if we're infinite consciousness, then we know that everything that unfolds is happening now, right? Is happening in this one eternal moment. And so this is when it gets interesting when it comes from this knowing that we are this one moment, this one moment that's just always there, then you could say every life is happening in one moment, even from other what seems like other timelines, right? All in that timeline, that has all happened in this moment. So in linearity, I know I've spoken about this recently. There's linearity, which is the timeline, like I'm going from A to B. There's a sense of time, I'm going somewhere. But that linearity exists within this eternal now. So all lives are happening right now. So in some sense, as infinite consciousness, yes, we are every life and every person that has ever been. We just are because that's all happening now. So you already have been every person and are every person because that is all happening as consciousness, as one consciousness in this now, which in linearity appears like different timelines, different stories. So if you come from the sense of linearity, then yeah, sure, you could say, someone could say, oh yeah, I remember my past life, like I was Elmo 10 years ago, and you know, in 5 years I will be Zarf, the ruler of this kingdom or whatever. But this is all happening. This is all happening within eternity, within now. So it's this dance of linearity and actually seeing that we already have everything in this one infinite moment, and that's just life constantly creating itself in this one moment. It's so much more than linearity. Okay. So this question as well is it's kind of similar to what I just answered. Is there anything that has to be done, or is everything already whole and complete as it is? Well, consciousness already is whole, right? We know that because when we tune into what's here, we feel there's a screen, right? There's a screen of presence, there's a spaciousness. It doesn't have boundaries, it's clear, it's limitless, it's the field that is what is manifesting everything right now. And that is whole and complete. But it's exactly what I just said then, that this knowing presence, this knowing field doesn't exist in linearity. It exists outside of linearity. But this seeming 3D space-time world exists in linearity. The story, the history of what we've done, where we're going, and the story of this world and what we want to make of it, where we're going, all exists within linearity. So in some way, if you're coming from linearity, nothing is whole and complete, and it never will be. In the story of who we are, it's impossible for it ever to be whole and complete. Even the individual and the story of the individual, it never feels like it's complete or whole. It just won't. It's impossible because if it's in linearity and a story, it's always looking for the next. What's the next thing? Or doesn't matter what it achieves, how much money it gains, how much it grows. It just wants the next thing. And I think the real power is seeing that our power is this now, and you contain the power, the eternity in everything right now. We all do because we are that. We are that one being appearing as a separate finite self in linearity. So yeah, we are already it, baby. We've already done it. Okay, let's see what else we've got. What would you say is the purpose of this incarnation? Feels like we're on an endless journey of learning to love ourselves, not just the avatar, but the whole self. Mm. Yeah, I would say what feels true here is the purpose of our incarnations is to realize the greatness of what we already are, realize the love and the power of what we are from this seeming sense of separation and suffering, right? And we have this in the individual, in the avatar, we have this forgetting that happens, right? Everyone has this forgetting of losing themselves in experience. And then I would say the purpose of incarnation is to realize who we are as a collective consciousness, and see that we've come from the infinite. We've come from infinite consciousness, and we exist outside of this space-time world, outside of linearity, outside of we're so much more than our thoughts, than this body. But we're also that with the infinite has given us this gift of the body and to localize itself and have this sense of limitation, and that's amazing. So I would say as a collective, the purpose of incarnation is to wake up to this power within us and see that the foundation of that is love, and that's where we've come from. Love is built from consciousness, infinite consciousness, and we are we are the one eternal creator at the core of that. So I would say it's to wake up to that nature within us and then bring it through our avatar, the bring it through the uniqueness of us here, and see that wow, we can create an amazing creative world of form here, for realizing we were the most creative, uh, intelligent, expansive thing, power, energy that ever existed. How could there be anything better than that to actually know that? There's not, because it's just it's it. So, yeah. Okay, feel free if you have any different questions or anything, um, to ask me that. There's a couple that were already asked on the chat I'm going to answer because I don't want those people to miss out. Were you always interested in things concerning the spirit? When did you have your spiritual awakening, or actually, when did you remember your spiritual origin? I had to navigate these in my teens, so it's nice to know that people of almost the same age group are going through the same stuff. When was I not interested in spirit? I I was from an early age interested in the self and reality, and I can remember as far back as even in middle school, so in Australia, that's year 7 or just after you leave primary school, always just being interested in what is there has to be more, or what's on the other side, or there's something else to this. I remember I painted in art class. I have to find it some I don't know where it's gone, I don't have it, but a painting, and it was of a like a sunset, and then it had a door, and it had a hand as if it was, like, coming from it's coming from the photo and going into the door, and the door was open, and it looked very matrixy, and it had all these doors within it, and I now look back on that and realize that is the power of what I painted there, because it's like it's those doors are the self and going into the self and what we are. And so I was always interested in that. Um, I started getting into meditation and inquiry around 15, 16, and then in early 20s, uh, that was when I started taking it more seriously, and I'd actually realized that I'd been on that path for quite a while, uh, and that just started overtaking other, passions I had then, so but we're all connected to spirit constantly. There's no unspiritual or spiritual. Everything this is what I find hilarious, is everything here is consciousness and is part of reality and you, so even if you feel like, "Oh, I'm drifting from the path," or "I need to take a break from this," you can't ever take a break from yourself. So there's no way you can ever not learn about what this is and consciousness. It's the most amazing thing. It's truly a gift to realize that there's a process that has gone on forever, for eternity, of just learning about yourself. Um, so I went through a rough patch for the last part of 2023, probably the roughest period in my life. Through a lot of meditation, yoga, and seeking the truth, I have been healing. A lot has been surfacing, and I have been crying more than I've cried in my whole life. I feel so much lighter, but now I'm 5 to 6 months later, I still feel like things are constantly surfacing, and if I don't give myself space to cry, it affects me negatively. Every day life makes it hard sometimes. It feels like a never-ending cycle. Is this how it's supposed to be? Good. Crying is good, and the fact you're even you're paying attention to that and you care about it and you're in touch with that, the fact that you've gone on to my posts and even asked that question is incredibly kind to yourself. And we we grow, we become more conscious when when we have a sense of play with these feelings. Because feelings, when we're not in touch with ourself or reality, right? Like feelings happen, but we have no idea that they're happening. It's like we're on a roller coaster that we didn't sign up for, right? We didn't buy a ticket for. Um, but when we can see that we brought the ticket, then we can perceive what's happening a bit more. We can see clearer. So it's having the intimacy with yourself and with reality to go, oh, okay, these feelings are energy. Like emotion is energy in motion, emotion. And there's a play in that. We came here to feel and to explore that. So if you cry, then cry. Crying is an amazing thing, an amazing emotion that we have access to. But if we stop ourselves from feeling, then we put we put everything in a jar, we bottle it up, and we hold these in from a young age. Everything we don't really express or feel, we build up. We go, and then we go, no, 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 like I'm gonna block myself away now, and we create so much suffering and tension. But then, as soon as we allow the feeling, it's like an opening, and then it just comes flooding out. And you notice if you allow the emotion more, but with awareness behind it, you'll feel that there's an energy behind that, right? And that energy is essentially what you are. So the more you start identifying with that energy, the more good feelings feel. The more like uh the more real and raw feelings feel, because it's amazing. So yeah, so absolutely don't ever feel like you shouldn't um feel, or that it's something unspiritual. I feel like there's a lot of in the spiritual community, there's a lot of a sense that oh, you have to be very zen and happy all the time and peaceful. Not at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Awakening is very much the opposite of that. I feel it's going directly into the core of who you are, the grittiness, the messiness, the anxieties, the neurosis, and really embracing and facing that fully, which is really hard. So yeah, I feel like this should be brought to more people's awareness, that it's everything. It's the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's all good. So yeah. Once we understand we are nothing but energy and we create every moment, then why do we continue to do things that cause suffering? I'll go to a job I dislike and sit there thinking, why am I still here? Well, when we know that we are energy and we're conscious, right? It doesn't mean we don't suffer anymore. Even people that, even if you have awoken to your nature, or anyone that is awake, knows that suffering doesn't just stop. What changes is our relationship to suffering. So we stop seeing suffering as necessarily a bad thing, and it's actually a challenge. We know it's for the growth of consciousness. And you might be thinking, oh well, I'm it's I can't understand that, I can't feel that when I'm at work. But every moment when we're conscious, which never leaves us, our beingness never leaves us, it doesn't matter if we're at work or at home, they're all part of this flow of energy, of life. So whether it's work or not work, it's all you. It's all consciousness and your beingness. When you feel your being, like right now, if you feel the essence of what you are behind every thought, feeling, sensation, there's that energy. There's an energy that's there, can't be conceptually understood, and it's incredibly peaceful to feel. That's what we open to in meditation, but that is always there. So whether you're no matter where you are, that energy is always there. So make it your practice if you're at work or if you're at the shops or you've just stepped in dog poo, make it your practice to be that space, be that space of presence and feel it and know it because that's never left you. So, and when suffering happens, right, we just shine that conscious awareness on it. We know we are that, and that shines through the suffering. So suffering will keep happening because life will challenge us. Life knows how to challenge us, and to grow in consciousness, it will create challenges. But if we know in those challenges that we are the light that pervades all of that, we're the one consciousness that is creating everything, this one moment, we actually know it. We don't think about it. We actually be that, be present and breathe now. Then we move through the suffering, we move through the challenges. And it doesn't have that jabby sort of feeling that it might have used to, or at least here, when there was deep unconsciousness or suffering when I was younger, it was um, incredibly alluring, and you lose yourself in it completely. And it's has a very like heavy, or at least here has a very heavy energy to it, and very serious energy. But as soon as you see like you're the one that's always here, that space of peace that never leaves, then that can just take out any challenge. That will just go and the challenge will feel like nothing. Doesn't mean we don't feel suffering and these strong emotions still, because we do. We have in form, we know we're the formless, but form is here as well. We're we're on a journey as an avatar in this you know, crazy, amazing space-time world, and um, we lose people, we lose other individuals, and we have loss. Um, we go through hardship, and it's only normal, part of the human, to feel what that's like, and that's part of the gift as well. Because if we were just the unlimited, we couldn't have the gift of this game and to feel that sense of um that sense of loss and lack. So yeah, it's the most beautiful thing and the most heartbreaking thing at the same time that we do feel that level of suffering and loss, but the fact that we have been given the chance to um feel that in a knowingness of uh, our infinity and limitlessness, which is so capable uh, of not doing that. Is there a Noe talking now, or is it life, wholeness, oneness expressing through the Noe character? Hmm. Well, you could say it's it's both, and it's the same for all of us. All of us that seems separate, every avatar that seems separate is an avatar in form, is a character, person, avatar, they're just words in form, and is a unique expression of the one. We're all that one consciousness expressing itself through our uniqueness. So I know there's a sense there's a knowing that I am the one that is manifesting this and is doing and animating and bringing life through this. But I know that that one is in everything and everyone, and so that doesn't feel like an individual thing to me. But I know that there is a sense of a me in form, and that has a personality and likes and dislikes, feels happy, feels sad sometimes, uh, you know, but I know that that one is always there and is in everyone and everything, and that doesn't leave the more you feel that, and the more you feel and you know you're that one, that consciousness in everyone and everything, then the individual becomes beautiful as well, is a special thing as well, and that shines through everything that you perceived when you were just if you just believed you were that one individual, the things you like about yourself, things you don't like about yourself, about others, if you just feel like you're that, then that's the where the core of suffering comes from, because you don't know yourself on a deeper level. But when you know you are that one shining through everyone and everything, not just think it, you know it now, that there's an energy always there in this moment, always this moment, then uh it's like a dance between both, and it's a play. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to oh yeah, I wanted to speak about a couple of things I usually don't um in these Ask Me Anythings. But uh what is what is challenging for awakening in this current time that we're in now? So many things, right? This is challenging. It is hard because we are in a time of a lot of stimulation and technology. And say, for example, social media, something I've noticed recently is for consciousness to awaken, there's a huge challenge right now. It's an amazing time where it's a huge paradox. We have so much information about all of this, teachings, and there's the flowering happening through so many people, but at the same time, we have so much that is designed to hack our consciousness and prevent that from happening. And one thing I found is social media, for example, I feel this mostly from apps like Instagram, and this is just how I've felt really intuitively, Facebook as well. But these apps, this technology is designed to pull our attention away, right? To feed off of our attention, and it's designed to hack consciousness. So this is a huge challenge for waking up. How can we use these platforms consciously and not get drawn in, not get sucked in? You know, it's like a vacuum cleaner. It's like you get up the app, you get up your phone, and then it goes, no, 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 no. And then, all of a sudden you're not conscious anymore. You're looking at cat videos for 10 minutes. I've never done that. Um, and then you go, how does this happen? How does this happen? So I've noticed for me, um, there's certain platforms that are really good at pulling this attention away from you. So the challenge is, how can we use technology? How can we use social media and platforms in the most conscious way possible, and even bringing in some sort of like method or activity where each time you go on, before you look at the app or phone, is like taking a moment before you go in and taking a breath of, okay, what am I going to consume now? Because otherwise it sucks us in like a vacuum. So yeah, for that reason, I'm actually not using Instagram much anymore. There's platforms like X, for example, as well, that I think are great because of uh, how it's pro free speech, and I find there's some platforms that don't hack consciousness as much. So I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on all of this. Um, and in terms of challenges as well for just the collective awakening and through the individual, also depending on where you are in space time and what's appearing here, depending on the location of where you are, does have an effect as well. Like something that's come up a lot is, you might be in a big city, right, and lots of stimulation, or you might be out in the woods in nature. And these have very different energies and vibrations and can have a huge effect on the development of us. Like, I'm in a city right now, and in some sense, I can feel the amount of stimulation and all these things happening. And you go out, you go outside, and there's a lot of it's like the life force from so many people has just been sucked, is just gone completely. But in some sense, I feel like with big cities, it's a challenge. So it depends how you see it. For me, a big city can work because it's a challenge for consciousness, and we know that when we're challenged, we we grow, right? If we're not being challenged, we don't grow. So this can be really good if you are in a space where you feel like it's really stimulating, is to see it as a challenge, not just like, "Oh, I need to move away, I need to move to Thailand and move to a cave," and no, we came here to be challenged, and so you can use that step challenge of all stimulation as that, as a chance for consciousness to grow. Um, but then there are certain places, like in nature, where you go into nature and there's the presence and the life energy of the nature around you, because when something is from the natural world, it has more of a life energy, more of a consciousness than something that's man-made. So when we're in nature, we can feel literally the trees, the nature, the energy of the area is lifting us up as well. So this can be really good too. So this is just something that I've thought about a lot recently. Okay. Yes, it seems like the world is designed to keep us asleep. And that's the scary thing is when you see that, right? Um, you can't really unsee it in some way. It's not conspiratorial at all. It's a fact. Like there's still a huge amount of people that are asleep, but don't even know it. It's not like it's a bad thing at all, because that can be one thing as well. The spiritual ego can say, "Oh, everyone's asleep. What's wrong with them? I'm so conscious. I'm so awake." But you know, consciousness and that sense of awakening will only happen for that person when it's supposed to happen. It's like the story of me and the the getting so lost in the game happens for so long until you don't wanna play the game anymore. Um, and so this is naturally unfolding, and I've said this in videos. It's naturally unfolding because we're just seeing there's so much more to this. There's so much more to just physical reality, to just form, to just our bodies, to just the fact that you have to go to work, you have to, you have to slave away at a 9 to 5, and then you die, and that's it. There's so much more than this, and there's technology. This is the one thing with technology. There are some parts of it that is going to um, transform and help our consciousness a lot, which is like virtual reality, for example, because it will just become more and more popular, these devices, and there'll be younger generations that grow up with these virtual reality worlds. And even though it is virtual, even though it is technology, they will be so immersive that you go into these and there's a sense of space and time and like you are in a real world. So it will just be obvious to younger generations that this is just a manifested space-time world as well. It's not saying we're not in a VR headset at the moment, but this is like a headset. This is like a headset from infinite consciousness. And we know this from when we know our being, from when we meditate long enough, that beingness that's always there, that has always been there, this sense of now exists always, while there's a sense of space-time and a world and a story that's always changing, right? That our cells are literally always changing. We're moving areas, we can change clothes, change job, we change age, but this all happens in that one infinite creator, in this one moment that all happens within then. And it's just amazing because when we notice that, then we're conscious. We're creating this. We came here to love, and that consciousness is is love at its core. But the forgetting and losing ourself creates the suffering, the sense of me and other. I need to take. I need to gain this. I need to this needs to be mine, and there's enemies, and it's very dog eats dog. That's what the game is. If you're just in the game, it's going to feel a lot like that. So David said, does awakening usually involve bizarre slash psychedelic perception? I feel like my experience is so unhinged and it forces me to come back to the present. Mm, I I imagine it is different for everyone. And I have been asked this question before, um, and I don't exactly, when you say bizarre psychedelic perception, you might need to, um, you might need to unfold on that a bit more. But yeah, I mean, I guess it can feel quite bizarre because so much is shifting. Okay, so life feels disturbing. Yeah, well, the more conscious you become, right? The more aware you are, the more it's paradoxical. The more you start seeing the dysfunction of the ego mind and the world and what's appearing, the more you start seeing that dysfunction. But actually, by seeing that dysfunction means you're conscious. So it's like I said before, in some ways, it's equally the most beautiful and best thing ever. But like you're saying, can be very disturbing because we're seeing all of this dysfunction and not even in ourselves, chaos in the world and war and murder and how could this be happening if I am this being of light if I'm a manifestation of this quantum field, this field of light, and I know that, then how could all of this be happening? And so that's okay, but don't feel like that's unusual at all. That's very normal. The more you start seeing, the more you'll start seeing. And this is just how it is. So that means all of it. You start seeing more of the beauty and the goodness in form and um more of the darkness. And yeah, in some sense, people could say there's a lot in the non-dual space of, oh well, light and darkness is something that you create in you. And in a sense, from consciousness, from who we are, yes, like we create the light, we create the darkness. It is what literally we create, and we perceive what we choose to believe and take on from this one consciousness is what appears. But in form and in linearity, in time, outside of this one moment, yes, there is light and there is darkness. There is horrible things that happen, and we don't want to bypass that. But there's also beautiful things that happen. So just go just go easy on yourself. Be gentle. Um, but know that if you return to now, if you return to who you are now, this spacious, energetic, peaceful being that we are doesn't have darkness. Doesn't have darkness. It just is. And it is alive and conscious and breathing in here. Um, so play with that. It's like a dance between linearity, between the world and history and what's happening, what's good and bad, and then knowing that the being of you now can't be defeated by darkness. It's not possible. It's not possible in this moment. You are free right now. You're free right now. So know if you're see if you're going into, when you say awakening, are you going into this linear story? And the linear story and thought and the mind can make up stories about awakening and a sense of there's some darkness in me and there's some light, but it can just be story and thought. Whereas it's okay, we can speak about honey for as long as we want. We can write PhDs on honey, but if we don't actually feel it or know it, then how can we how can we how can we perceive the light, the being that is there? So there's a difference between getting wrapped up in the the story of it and actually knowing that what you are now is free, is enough. has no darkness. Right, so I hope that helped. I'm really interested in how we can all help magnify this resonance, and there are a few people on YouTube that all seem to be earnestly resonating on the same vibe, like Matt Garrett and others. I know I cannot see as much as yourselves. Is it still worth pursuing a channel, or is there danger of giving a watered down message? So, this is where we can get lost, some people, in believing that there's some sort of hierarchy, right? That there's a teacher and a student, or there's a guru and a student, but those those times aren't here anymore. This awakening is happening so rapidly that we all know we're all just friends walking each other home. We're just normal, we're just regular characters, we're just avatars who are having these shifts and then are able to express it like something that's always been a part of this avatar is the wanting to express uh, this awe and this interest and deep curiosity for consciousness and all of this. So you can see as much as us as others because you are the same space, you are the same consciousness, and it just takes um surrendering to that belief that there's a separate you, or there's someone who you need help from, because you are the ultimate master, you are the ultimate guru. No one else is here. You know, we are all the one being manifesting this as our seeming separate avatars. How amazing is that? So, whatever expression you feel like you have, whether that's really quiet, or really, introspective, or really loud and energetic and in your face, then do it. Then make a channel and spread this, because it's only going to help others and yourself, which is you. And there's no one holding anyone back from really realizing this within themselves, because you are me in another bodysuit. You are me in another bodysuit. So how can I there's no knowing more. We all know this. I'm gonna look at the questions that were already pre-asked, because there were a couple that I said I would answer. I know I can access a place of unconditional peace from time to time, but my focus keeps getting back to my outside reality, which is full of limitations, that is partially the consequence of past depression that lasted for years. How would you advise me to approach that? Whatever I focus on, Whenever I focus on my outside reality, studies I don't like, lack of freedom, unmet desires, and I find no way of changing it, I feel bad. So when you say there's a sense of peace, you find that sense of peace in yourself from time to time, but then there's you get lost in the outside world and you lose that at stages. I really want you to explore and feel when you say there's an outside world, or when you find that peace, the way you described it was there's a peace in you, and then there's a separate outside world that you get lost in. Really explore what that is. There is no, from that peace, from consciousness now, there is a seeming outside world, right? But that peace and that consciousness is like the one screen of presence always there, with all these changing forms, right? All this changing experience, people, colors, sound, but that space never changes. So you can't ever be separate to what seems like is outside of you, because it's all happening within the headset of infinite consciousness, right? It's like, imagine you get given a VR headset, right? And you get to play a game. You get to play Grand Theft Auto, and it's first person, but and so you put it on, and then you're walking down the street, and immediately you identify with the headset because it's very convincing. And you're like, okay, I'm walking down the street now, and oh no, there's a car coming at me, and we get really flustered. But if we know that we're the headset, that we're the creator, that is what is creating this space-time world, then we know we can't ever not be that. We know that no matter what happens in the game, in the seeming world of form, that that creator is always there. It's one infinite creator, and that always stays the same. That is always now, it's always eternal. But in the game, in on the screen, it seems like there's distance, right? Even now, it appears like there's distance, but the consciousness of you has always been pure, has always been here in this moment, and that exists outside of space-time. That, when we say window, that screen of presence, is the window into that deeper reality. So it's like I could use even my screen as an example now, right? So if you're looking at my screen, it feels it feels and seems like there's distance behind me, right? And it's absolutely, it feels real. But this is an analogy for like for consciousness. Feels like there's distance. But then if I cover this now, is there distance? No. And so that is no different to us now. Is It seems like there's something moving through the world, but there's a field, a clear space that's always there, that is the window into the infinite you that has always been there. So, yeah, I hope that helped. Okay. We got one. This is quite funny. Miroslav said, "Practical tips to increase your abundance, double your income." Okay, let me go get my suit and tie on, and I'll be right back. Okay. No, I'm only joking. Um, well, all I can say to that is you are the abundance. You are the abundance. So everything, if you know that you are the abundance, right, and you already have the power of everything. You already have the exact feeling that anything any income, anything in form can give you. If you already have it, then that will just work. What wants to happen in form, that will just work itself out. So, if you know you already have it, then you'll be supported. You'll be supported. I'm not gonna offer financial advice, it's the wrong channel for that, but you know what I mean. You already have it, so if you know you're in a place of just knowing what you are, and you already have everything, it's so obvious, so then it's just whatever comes is the icing on the cake. And that doesn't mean we sit around and go, "Okay," like, we could bypass and say, "Okay, well, I have it, I'm just everything, so I can just sit around." Um, but we could do that in some sense, or in another sense, we know we have it, we can go out and have fun and play and enjoy ourselves in the world and form. Yeah. Okay, if there's any last questions, then, feel free to jot them down. I'd love to speak more about the difficulties people face, um, on awakening to consciousness, and how it does get difficult. And I don't think it's, spoken about much, that, this process is is hard for a lot of people. You're literally going into the core of what you are and everything that's arising, and you're facing it, and that can be very challenging. And so don't feel like there's a sense in the spiritual world that, oh, I have to be really zen or happy, not feel negative emotions, not feel crazy things. And they're very, 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 like, limited beliefs in some way, because when we go into the self and we go into who we are, it's it's a painful process. We only awaken through really facing all of that, and actually explore consciousness. We have to explore all of it. And so it's not saying like, oh, like I have to be, zenned out all the time. Not at all. I've had uh, lots of moments where I felt like this is difficult, and um, there's you can see, like I was saying before, the more clearer you get, the more dysfunction you see in the thought streams that you had, or in the world. And yeah, it can be painful, but if we embrace the suffering and the pain, and it's like we go beyond duality, we go beyond it being good or bad, and we see it actually as like energy. Everything is energy, right? When we treat it as that, then we completely change how we feel about it. It's like if we know, like, right now there's an intimacy always with this moment, and an intimacy with every energy that arises in this moment. When I say there's an intimacy, it's like we're dropping out of the mind and we're actually feeling what's arising. And it's not in thought. It's like, notice when a thought comes about what is arising, there's a mysterious non-conceptual knowing to that, that is, in some sense, is being the formless, being yourself now, being the being of us. And that goes so beyond this story of good and bad and um, you know, zened out and I am enlightened constantly, or like, oh, I'm having this massive crazy awakening. Um, it's us at a more deeper level who now while everything unfolds. How much can we dive into gracefully the arisings, the peaceful energy, the crazy energy, the heavy energy? Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. This has been really good. Um, I'm just looking over the last messages. Okay, I feel like that's us done today. So thank you for tuning in, whoever did. This was really, really special, and uh, there's a great feeling here, and I've learnt so much of you and your questions, and thank you for your time. And I learn just as much of you do, um, just as much of you as you do from me. So yeah, all right. I love you guys. Bye.